Hello everyone, this is Gary D. Tonicourt from morethanasnapshot.com. I'm coming to you live today, Facebook Live, and I wanted to talk about a couple of things. First off, on my website, today we have a contest closing for the end of the month. So if you haven't entered, you'll have till 5 o'clock tonight to enter my photo contest. The theme is open, so any category of image will work. And the judging will take place in the next couple of days. The winner will get a prize, and it will be one of my photography classes. And so it's a good idea to head over to morethanasnapshot.com and to sign up for that. It's a fun activity where you get to test out your images against some other people in the classes. All right, the other reason I wanted to talk today was about the new Canon EOS 5D Mark IV DSLR. It's being released today. And it's a big announcement. A lot of people have been waiting a long time for this camera, and it looks pretty exciting. I'm probably gonna get one. I've used the Canon 5D Mark III, and I've loved that camera. And this seems to be a good upgrade. So let's take a look at some of the specs. I'm looking at B&H's website just to see the specs and the prices. So the camera, the body only, is going to be $3,499, which is what the other camera went for. And you can see here now on the screen, let me make myself a little bit smaller, get out of the way. It is pretty much the same body. They don't usually change the body style very much. But the features inside are really looking great. So first of all, we've got a 30.4 megapixel full frame CMOS sensor. So before it had like a 22 point something megapixel sensor. So there's a little bump in megapixels, which is always nice if you need to crop. Especially if you shoot wildlife, birds, and things like that, you always need to crop in a bit. So having more megapixels is nice. It's not quite as much as like a Sony's 40 megapixel or the 5DSR's 50 megapixel, but 30 is a nice mid-range and usually plenty of megapixels. Next, it has the Digic 6 Plus image processor, which is typical. 3.2-inch touchscreen. This is new. I believe it's a full touch screen, so you know, one of the major benefits of it is that during live recording or even just for focusing, you should be able to touch the screen and it will automatically focus. And the new dual pixel focusing system works really well even during video. It's nice and smooth and cinematic, and you know, it's been really popular on both the 80D and on the new 1DX Mark II. So that is a great feature, one that's worth upgrading for, especially if you do video. And then speaking of video, this one's going to do 4K, and you know, for Canon that's a big jump. There's lots of other companies that have been doing 4K, like the GH4 and the Sonys and things like that. But this one's going to do 40K at up to 30 frames per second. And of course, you know, you may not publish in 4K, but it allows you to do some nice editing, some cropping in, and it's worth it. It's a nice feature to have, and it records right into the camera's card. Also, you can pull stills from that. Since it's a larger video size, you get an 8.8 megapixel still. So if you happen to catch something on video that looks good, you can make a nice still out of it. It's not, you know, quite as good as if you had done it as a still shot in the camera, of course, because you're not getting the 30 megapixels, but still you can make a decent little snapshot. Also with video, they say that the video out on it is not 4K, so they're probably protecting their higher end cameras, but it's not a deal breaker. Those 4K video recorders are so expensive, it's like buying a whole new camera anyway. So, you know, if you can output to 1080 to like an Atomos or something, that is good enough. It does have 61 point autofocus system, and so it's a wider array of focus points covering more of the sensor, which is helpful. Although a lot of times I might use one point, occasionally it helps to use all the points. And I think one of the biggest benefits there is they've added focusing up to f8. So in the previous camera, the 5D Mark III, you could go up to f8 on the center focus point only. And now they're expanding that to other focus points. So that's really helpful if you're a wildlife photographer and you want to use a long lens with the teleconverter, because the teleconverter will make you have to shoot at a smaller f-stop. So for example, if you have a lens that's say 400 millimeters in f5.6, if you put a 1.4 times teleconverter on it, now all of a sudden it's not a f5.6 lens anymore, it's like an f8 lens. And so if your camera's not capable of autofocusing at f8, then you're going to have to manual focus. So it's a nice feature to have more autofocus spots be able to focus at f8. The ISO range, native ISO goes up to 32,000 and it's expandable to 102,400. So that's not a huge increase over what we had before. It was always a good low light camera, but it was having trouble competing against things like the Nikon D810 and the new Sonys. This is a bit of an improvement. We'll have to wait and see till we get the camera in our hands to see if the high ISO noise performance can at least match up to those cameras and test out the dynamic range. I'm sure Canon's putting out a great camera that will be able to compete very well. We already mentioned the dual pixel AF, great for focusing and for video focusing. It will shoot 7 frames per second, which is as fast as the old 7D did. So that 7 frames per second is not as good as the Mark II's 10 frames per second, but certainly it's good enough to do basic sports and wildlife. And especially with all the resolution you're getting, I think that this will be a pretty good camera for that sort of thing. The buffer may not be as large also, but I think I heard something like 21 shots in the buffer. It's not a huge number, but how many times are you going to take a shot of a bird that goes more than 21 shots? I don't know. We'll have to wait and see till we actually get it in our hands and are using it. It did keep the old cards. Some people are disappointed about that it is using still the CF cards and the SD cards. It's a little bit slower way of recording compared to some of the newer cards. They could have put a CFast card in there, but again, they're trying to protect their higher line cameras, the 1DX Mark II. It does have built-in GPS and Wi-Fi and NFC, so you'll be able to connect it to your phone with a little app that it's going to come with, and so that's really handy. It's going to be a great tool for not only recording video but taking stills right from your phone, or transferring photos probably from your phone to your camera, or from your camera to your phone, I mean. So that's a great feature. And I've heard also that they have released a new product so that if you have even the Canon 7D Mark II or the 5DS or the 5DSR, you'll be able to add this little device and you'll be able to get GPS and Wi-Fi into those cameras. So that's a new product. I haven't seen a picture of it yet, but that's something for people with those cameras as well. So I think it's going to be a good camera. It's not super groundbreaking, earth-shattering, but what Canon does is they put out great cameras that are stable, they work well, and they produce great images. They are always on the cutting edge, but they don't seem to be pushing the boundaries quite as much as some other companies at the moment. Of course, they're at the top, so they don't have to compete that much. They don't have to be, pushing that leading edge to try to capture those new customers like a Sony type of company might have to do. Also, they came out with a couple new lenses. The 24-105 has now a version 2. I use the version 1 24-105. I really like that lens. It's a great lens, and it's not known for being the sharpest lens of all. Maybe that's probably one of the biggest improvements. Is again, we'll have to wait and see till we get it in our hands and test it. And they're also coming out with a new version of the 16-35 f2.8, and that's a lens I don't have. I have the 17-40, which is a great lens, but it's an f4. And lately I've been doing a bit more night photography, astrophotography, and having that wider aperture with a really wide-angle lens might be worth it. That lens, though, is like $2,199, so it's not obviously not a cheap lens, but the first version of it was really good, and I'm sure this one's going to be even better. I'm sure they're having to boost the sharpness and things like that to work with these new higher resolution cameras. So that's it for my Canon update for the day. If you want to leave me a comment down below, let me know what you think. Are you going to buy one of these cameras? I think that I will be ordering one. So it'll be interesting to see. They're supposed to come out in early September, so we should be getting them pretty soon. You can pre-order them now. And we'll see you next time. This has been Garrity Tonicourt for morethanasnapshot.com.